Pack your bags and check your tickets because on Filmi Ladies this week, we're going on a trip. Today's movies are about travel in some way or another. It's, summer peak vacation time here in the United States where we live, and we thought about, who doesn't want to get away? We were going to do vacation or holiday movies, but then that felt a little limiting, so we widened it a bit to travel. So here we are. Pitu has watched Karwaan from 2018, and I have watched Suhana Safar from what year is it? 1970. And so that's a nice spread. We've got some very different kinds of films here. So tell me, Pitu, would you go on a trip with the people in your film?
I would 100% go on a trip with Irfan anywhere, anytime, anyhow. I do not care. The ghost of Irfan, I'm willing to travel with him also. Um, I mostly just watch this movie because I just need an excuse to talk about Irfan Khan as much as I can.
Fair.
And so I was like, is there a travel movie with Irfan? Ah, yes, Karwa. Okay. Dulquer Salmaan is not someone I particularly have an opinion about, but he was good
Mhm.
in this movie. And to me, the surprise package was Mithila Palkar because I know absolutely nothing about her. I do not watch that show, Little Things, I think it's called.
Oh, yeah. So you didn't remember her from her big sort of boom social media days? Yeah.
No. And so, like, I'd heard of her name,
Hmm.
but she didn't mean anything to me. And I had a feeling that while I was watching this movie, it's like, the teenager was going to be the most annoying one. And that
Sure.
I, as an older person, would relate to like Dulquer or Irfan far more. I was surprised by how fun and absolutely adorable she was.
She's really
Every time
charming.
every time she was on screen, I had such a big smile on my face. And I was like, wait,
Oh.
what's happening? I thought it was going to be grumpy grumperson over here, but I thought she was such a breath of fresh air. And Irfan just like, it's like, he's funny and he's witty and he's hilarious and also problematic. But at the same time, it's like, it's always this bittersweet experience for me where like, I love everything he does, but then I'm also sad that he was taken from us so
Yeah.
early. And this is his penultimate film. So,
Is it
um,
really? Wow.
yeah. And I am nowhere even close to finishing my Irfan Khan filmography because so many of the earlier projects he did are like these really hard to find films. Like it's just a lot of it is like theater stuff, a lot of it is
Mhm.
films that had limited release. So I don't know if I'll ever manage to finish my Irfan Khan filmography, but like I'm trying. So yeah. Did have you watched Karvan? Would you travel with these people or no?
I haven't watched it, but it's one of those things that's been sort of hovering in the second tier of my to watch list for a very
Yeah.
long time. Like, but I remember when it came out, of course, it didn't show here, and I thought, oh, that's cute. And then I just never got to it.
Yeah. It's really cute. I would recommend it. I have no idea who this director is. His name is Akarsh Khurana. I went and
Mm.
looked up at his Wikipedia. He's done a really good job, by the way. Like this movie is so crisp and it's so well made. It's only 2 hours long, and it just moves along at a really fast pace. It has Amla, whom I really like,
Hmm.
and she has like a very tiny little role. She's Mithila Palkar's mom in the movie, and it's just like a really well made film. It's very like slice of life and just very believable. The things that happen to them are very interesting as well, and it's funny but not like haha funny. It's more like observational humor, and Irfan just steals every scene that he's in. So I would recommend watching Karma. It's like a feel good quick movie. Having said that, as much as I enjoyed it, this is not a movie that is going to change your life. And
Okay.
this is not a movie that I would say that, oh my God, what do you mean you haven't seen Karma? You must watch it immediately. I wouldn't say that, but it's a fun movie to watch. And especially for Irfan Khan fans, like you just have to watch everything that he's in. And this is a really good choice to make if you are in the mood for an Irfan movie. So I would recommend it, but I wouldn't say that go run right now, Beth, and go watch it. Yeah.
So this director
Akarsh Khurana.
was a writer on Kites, was the
Yeah,
screenwriter of Krish 3 and Humshuckles.
I
Uh,
guess. He's also associated with your favorite Befikre.
I saw that. What a strange filmography this person has.
It really is. And some of his roles, if you look like not roles, I mean some of the jobs he's had, like he's like a dubbing artist for some
Yeah.
film. It's just kind of all over the place. But the way I thought about it is maybe this person is just like really very well-rounded in the film industry and has just
Yeah.
like done all the different things and is just, I mean, he did a really good job with
Did
his directorial.
Did you watch Rush Me Rocket? Because he's directed that, and that's a film I also keep intending to see, and I haven't.
I can't remember what it is about Rashmi Rocket that is very irritating to me, but I don't want to
Oh,
watch it. It might be who's in it.
Topsy.
Yeah, that would be a no.
Oh, I like her. I like her a lot.
Really, I cannot stand Topsy. I only watched Thappad because I
Interesting.
like the premise and I enjoyed the movie, but Topsy really irritates me, so I wouldn't. Plus, I'm
Ah,
not a big fan of like sports movies in general. I
okay.
mean, okay, let me clarify. I like sports movies where it's about a team,
Mm.
like Chuck the India or like Field
Hmm.
of Dreams or Chariots of Fire, stuff like that. I
Hmm.
don't like sport movies where it's just about one person and
Okay.
their achievement. So, for example, I haven't watched Bhag Milkha because
Right.
those just or MS Dhoni, like those just have like a very like biopic feel to them,
Sure.
and it's very like here's this amazing athlete. No, I like the team spirit things.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah,
Hmm.
but have you? So he's associated with Rashmi Rocket too.
He
You said?
directed it.
Oh, did you like that movie?
I haven't seen it. It's
Okay.
another that I keep kind of intending to watch and never quite getting to.
Okay. But I'm very interested to see what he does next. And so like I looked at his filmography for his films after Karma, and these
Hmm.
again, these are not movies I've heard of. So I don't know. But I mean, he did a really good job with this movie, I would
Hmm.
say. And the characters are very well written. Irfan's character actually is very interesting because some of the things he says are so like rude. But at the same time, you can see why him and Dulquer are like such good friends, and they're such opposites. Like Dulquer is such a like this very serious, very kind of like I work in IT, but I actually hate my job and I want to be a photographer person. And I actually thought that this movie would also have been a good entry for our Father's Day episode,
Hmm.
although I hadn't seen it until then because um, Dulquer's relationship with his father really informs so much of this film. Like his father is really mean
Hmm.
and does not want Dulquer to become a photographer, and that is why he kind of like his dad like forces him into IT, and he's really miserable. He hates what he does,
Hmm.
and the story basically is that the movie starts with like pilgrims on like a bus. They're going to Gangotri, and there's two people talking to each other. It's Dulquer's dad and the actress Bina. They're talking to each other, and then I guess an accident happens. Everyone dies, and the travel company sends the bodies, but there's a mix-up. So Bina's body is sent to Dulquer, like instead
Okay.
of his dad, he gets that lady, and that lady and the dad's body goes to Amla instead of the mom. So it's like a switcheroo.
Okay.
And Amla works as like a manager at a hotel in Kochi. So she can't really come to Bangalore to get the body.
Hmm.
And so they basically drive down. So it's like, I think it's like
Okay.
Bangalore to Kochi. And along the way, they pick up Bina's daughter, who is Mithila Palkar. So it's Irfan's van. Dulquer is his friend. They have the body of the mother in the car, in the van, and they have to go down and do the switcheroo,
Hmm.
basically.
Okay.
So it's I loved seeing the friendship between Irfan and Dilker because on the surface, you don't understand how this extremely uptight person and this complete loose cannon can be friends. But
Hmm.
they're really, you can see that they're both people who have a lot of heart and who would do a lot for each other. And that's really sweet to see. And Irfan's character reminds me a little bit of his character from Piku, which I loved his character in
Yeah.
Piku.
Yeah.
He was so like caustic and like spicy and not willing to take any shit from like Amitabh Bachchan or Deepika in that movie. And he kind of has a little bit of that same, like every time Dulquer wants to do some sort of detour because he's like, oh, we have to pick up the daughter. And he's like, absolutely not. He's just kind of like putting the brakes on everything. So he's very, very entertaining. And there's like a tiny little subplot of Irfan falls in love with this lady in the hospital. Like she's wearing like a burqa, and you can like basically just see her eyes and like really beautiful gold rimmed eyes and whatever. Like a tiny little love story forms between them. It doesn't end well, but it's a cute movie.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would recommend it when you just want to watch like a feel good movie. Like even though it's like about the deaths of those parents or whatever, it's actually not like melodramatic or sad or anything.
Mhm.
And towards the end, when Amla does like a little prayer meet where she wants to talk about her mom and then she wants Dulquer to talk about his father, because both cremations happen in Kochi once the
Okay.
bodies are recovered. Um, it's so interesting because Amla's relationship with her mom was really good. So she says wonderful things about her mother and just moms in general. And then Dulquer has to say something about his dad. And he didn't have a relationship with his dad, he didn't talk to him. And so he talks about how parenting or the parent child relationship is not always as rosy and glowing as what this lady just said. Like, that's great for her, I'm happy for her,
Mm.
but sometimes it's prickly and it's difficult and it's just hard, but that doesn't mean you don't love that person. But so I found that very interesting because I think on the whole, Indian cinema and also Indian society as a general rule tends to put like the whole like parent child relationship up on a pedestal
Sure.
where no one can do any wrong and everything always has to be this very like Barjatia image. And I think the fact that it's shown as being normal for
Hmm.
Dulquer and his father to have so much friction between them. I just thought that that was kind of interesting, and
Hmm.
it didn't seem like a stupid cop out. It seemed like, yeah, those relationships exist too, and you can
Nice.
mourn the death of someone that really should have done far better by you,
Hmm.
but perhaps also they did the best they could.
Sure.
So it's interesting. It's like it's a sweet movie. It's a well-made movie. Irfan really brings his A game. I like Dulquer in it, but that role could have been done by anyone.
Hmm.
I didn't think that you needed Dulquer in it. It could
Apparently
have been anybody.
it was going to be Abhishek Bachchan or Rajkumar Rao at one point.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. I feel like Abhishek Bachchan would have been fine because he could have played that uptight person well. Rajkumar Rao, I don't know about that though, because then Irfan and him would have been almost too similar.
I'd
And I
love
wonder.
I'd love to see them in a movie together though. That would
Yeah,
have
I
been,
mean, that's never gonna happen
yeah.
though. But yeah, that's interesting.
A lot of production problems with this film, says Wikipedia, which is
Really?
interesting. Yeah, like the director stepped out at one point, then came back. Nasir,
So
no,
drama.
Nawazuddin Siddiqui was supposed to be in it at one point. Yeah.
I love Nawaz. Can you imagine Nawaz? Nawaz and Irfan together. Oh my God, we were robbed. Anyway, so yeah, that was the movie. It was cute. Mithila Palkar was sweet. There's a part in it, there's several parts in it where Mithila Palkar's character keeps annoying the other two. Irfan mostly because he's just kind of like, he just wants things to go his way,
Hmm.
and Dulquer because he's so uptight, and she's just kind of like fun and she just wants to have a good time. She's always like, chill, yaar. Like, because they're so upset about everything. And she's always like, it doesn't matter. It was so funny. Um, but it was funny to see some of those scenes because I feel like even for those of us who are older, sometimes we can exhibit some of that same irritation and impatience that Irfan and Dulquer's character have towards her. And when you see it from her perspective, you can see how overbearing these adults are being.
Yeah.
Like there's a scene where Mithila Palkar and Dulquer has to go to the chemist because he needs a toothpaste or toothbrush or something. And Mithila says, oh, I need to get something from the pharmacy, so I'll come with you. And they go over there and she basically asks for a pregnancy test. And he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, people have to take pregnancy tests because they could be pregnant. He's like, what? And she's like, calm down, chill, it's fine, it happens, and it was funny because I think that's like a learning for us to never be. I don't want to be that person that
Right.
is always judgy and overbearing towards like Gen Z, especially because like I work with so many Gen Z people
Oh, yeah.
and I love them and they're so darling, but they don't think about a lot of stuff before they do it, Beth. And
They are young. They are not
they are
fully
young,
adults yet.
they're footloose and fancy free. And there are times when I find myself being, okay, let's maybe not be that footloose and fancy free, you guys. And I want to always remind myself, like, I don't want to be that person that, the aunties and the
Right.
uncles were when we were young, because they were so irritating and they didn't know how to have
We
fun.
are there.
We are there, but we don't have to be all there.
Right. Right.
We can try to toe that line where we can be the cool and the fun aunties.
Right. Right. Be a fun auntie.
So that is the goal, to be the fun, cool coworker auntie. So yeah, really fun movie. Okay,
Nice.
tell us about Shasha in your movie.
The Shasha. So Suhana Safar is yet another remake of It Happened One Night, more or
Hmm.
less. The setup is a little different. So in it, Sharmila is coming home from the United States on a plane, and there's a fire on the plane, and the special
Okay.
effects of this are a hoot.
Okay.
Her dad, Om Prakash, is waiting for her at the airport. He has a brass band. He's all, distraught when her plane seems
And
to
the
be in
garland.
trouble. She is sitting on the plane, clutching a book by her favorite poet, whom she adores. Everything's fine. She gets off the plane. He then, a few days later or whatever, is like, I think we should think about getting you married. And she's like, great, this is who I want to marry. And her dad's like, great. What's he like? And she's like, I don't know. I've never met him. And he's like, oh, I see. He's worried about her mental health. He brings in a psychiatrist who, makes way too much out of this and is going to institutionalize her basically. And so she runs away.
That's ridiculous. Okay.
It's completely ridiculous. And then later the dad is like, I can't believe you said that to my daughter. Of course she ran away,
Right.
basically, is what I got from the subtitles anyway. So she runs away. She has a car incident with Shashi, who is I believe he's a farm owner. Like, I think they call him a farmer, but I don't think he's like the agriculture laborer. I think he's a
Yeah.
landowner, but whatever. And
Yeah. To quote Rishi Kapoor, the Kapoors cannot play poor people.
right. So he's out in his Jeep and there's a car thing and then she, tries to steal his Jeep or buy his Jeep from him. And anyway, so and then she ends up getting like hitching a ride on a tourist bus, which is full of all the character actors, including like Lily Tapawar and
Hmm.
Leela Mishra and people like that. And then he gets on the tourist bus and they're going along. And then, of course, it comes out that her dad is looking for her and there's a reward in the paper. So then they have to run away from the people trying to get the reward. Blah, blah, blah. You know the rest of the story.
Yes.
Um,
So
yeah.
of all the It Happened One Night remakes that we know, which
Hmm.
we know the English one, we know Chawa Pawa,
Hmm.
we know Chori Chori,
Hmm.
we know Dil Hai Ki Manta Nahi,
Hmm.
and we know this one. So that's five.
And I
Is there
think there
any
are,
other?
yes, there are others in other Indian languages. So
Which we have maybe not
I
seen
believe
and
there
talked
are
about.
8 total that I've been able to
Wow.
find so far. Yeah, it is the most, to my knowledge, it is the most made non-Indian source
Hmm.
film.
Which makes sense because, like, just the concept of it is so much fun.
It's fun.
Like, this girl and this guy, and this girl is on the run, and then he has to. I mean, it's just so. So,
And
where would you stack this?
you have this excuse for them not being bound by parents and home and school and
Yeah, and
societal
hijinks.
pressures and whatever. Yeah, they can be free for a
Hmm.
while, but then of course they get to be like good at the end. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty perfect for
So,
mainstream. Yeah.
of the rankings of the five that we've seen or you've seen,
Hmm.
of those, where would you rank Sahana Safar in terms of just fun or entertaining?
Um, that's a good question. I don't even want, it's hard to rank, and partly I was about to say, oh, they're different flavors, but they're not really. I actually have not seen what is it, the 80s or 90s one that you named?
Dil Hai Ki Manta
I
Nahi?
have not seen that.
Oh, that's my favorite.
Okay. Um, I mean, I like Chori Chori, but Raj Kapoor as an actor is
Right.
not going to be my favorite, probably.
Right.
Uh, Uttam and Suchitra obviously are my favorite, so that one
Hmm.
probably wins for me. But I also love Shashi and Sharmila separately and together, right? So
Right.
it's tough. It's tough. I think this one's really cute. I think, the late 60s style in it is really
Yes.
fun. I sent you some pictures. Like Sharmila's bouffant is bouffanting. How
Yeah.
she's doing all these hairstyles with all these hair pieces on the road and she has one suitcase. Her wigs alone would take up that suitcase, I think.
Right.
So it is highly improbable, but it is
Someone should write a fan fiction where when she goes to sleep, it's actually Shashi Kapoor who's like adjusting her wigs and making and then in the morning she just thinks, oh, it's magic.
there's
Me,
this
I should write that.
scene before she leaves her house where she has a mega bouffant but also pigtails. Like it's just it's amazing. Um The
Do you think the
music
fire
is,
in the plane was due to her hairspray? Probably.
I believe it.
She's probably
I believe
bathed
it.
in hairspray.
So like the air circulation system in the plane sucked the hairspray out and
Yeah.
set a fire outside the plane. Yeah. Um, yeah, I can't rank them. I don't know. It's very cute. It's pretty much exactly what you would expect it to be, I think, which
Yeah.
can be very pleasant. And I don't find that there's too much of anybody in it. Like, the side characters on the bus are only there for part of the movie, so you don't get, too much. Lily DePauwar, for
Mhm.
example. Interestingly, Shashi gets two songs on his own, and Sharmila has no solo songs, so that's really, really fascinating.
And we
Um,
know she's great at songs.
yeah, yeah. And what this movie has that stands out to me most is a holy song that I have never seen this song on the list of holy songs that go around.
Hmm.
And I'll put it in the description of the video on YouTube. It is so charming. I'm trying to remember what the name of this song is. I should know.
Because
Oh,
I don't remember ever seeing a video of like a holy song with Shashi and Sharmila in it.
right. I don't even remember which one it is when I look at the
Hmm.
titles of the songs. Sorry, everyone. I should have made note of this. He's imagining them so they roll up to some small town and people are playing Holy, and so they're imagining themselves in the song. So it starts out with these other people dancing,
Mm.
but then it becomes, like the screen goes all blurry and it becomes them. And it's so cute. And yes, I am predisposed to find what I'm about to say in films, but like, oh, Shashi Kapoor, man, like we've talked about how good he is at the Suhagrat scenes, and there's like
Yeah.
a few tiny little moments of like very sexy chemistry between them. I think it's
I
mostly him,
mean,
but it's, like he kind of nuzzles against her neck or whatever, and you're like,
mhm.
whoo! It's
Nice.
and there's a couple little like poses in this song or fleeting moments of choreography where you're like, whoo. Um,
Right.
it's good. This is neither of their absolute best work, but
Okay.
I think it's good. I really wonder if they liked working together because they are in quite a few films together, and obviously New Delhi Times much later in their careers when they,
Hmm.
were not under pressure to crank out masala pot boilers or whatever. But
Right.
yeah, this too is a very pleasant film. You can live without having seen it, but it
Okay.
is extremely cute. If you like those two people, I would say watch it for sure. The music is by Lakshmikant Pyarelal, so
Mm.
again, people who know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's super cute.
But it doesn't sound like this movie has any of the really famous songs though, right?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like, if you tell me that this movie stars Shashi and Sharmila, who were gigantic stars, but also
Hmm.
a great hit to Jodi together, and I mean, they're
Hmm.
also in like Aage Le Lag Ja and stuff like that. And then also, if you tell me that it's the It Happened One Night story, which is like a tried and tested true formula, I don't think
Right,
any of those movies has ever flopped. Like, there's a
right,
reason they keep cranking them out because they make money, right?
right.
Um, Considering all of that, I would think that this movie would be like a really famous, really popular one that people talk about, but it doesn't get talked about as much. And until you told me you were going to watch this movie for the episode, I hadn't even heard of it. And I've seen a lot of Sharmila films and I've seen a lot of Shashi films, and I'm
Right.
predisposed to watching films that they're starring in because I really like them as a Jodi. So I wonder what it is about this film that doesn't get, it's just not as famous, you know?
Hmm. I think I think the holy song is Chudiyam Bazaar Say.
Okay. I don't
I'm
know
pretty
this
sure
song.
that's right. And there's a cute thing about a bangle seller comes to the bus to try to sell, when they're stopped, and she goes to buy bangles, but all her money from her purse is gone for reasons that I won't get into, but no one has robbed her. It's fine. Um,
Okay.
and then she's like, instead of just saying, "Oh, I can't find my money," she's like, "Meh, I don't want bangles after all." Meh. She's not as far in the spoiled rich girl. Like we don't see her throwing plates like
She's not quite Nargis and
yeah, or
Chori Chori.
Suchitra, yeah.
Yeah.
But so then, and Shashi has been off screen watching this happen. He like goes to the bangle seller to get him. He buys
Yeah.
the bangles and then stashes them
Oh,
away, and then he puts them in her suitcase for her to find later. So like,
that's so
it's cute. It's a
sweet.
cute thing
Well,
about
why didn't
bangles.
we get a scene where he puts the bangles on her wrist?
Because her finding them in the suitcase is her
Is the
whole.
surprise.
She has understood that he's in love with someone, but he hasn't told her who. And she's like, "Oh, are these bangles for the woman you love?" And he's like,
Oh.
"Yes." It's really cute. It's cute.
That's really sweet. I'm very curious to see what you think of the Lege Mandane if you watch it. Do you like Pooja Bhatt? Or are you like neutral on her?
I like her. I've seen very little of her stuff, but I like what I've seen. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I should watch it someday.
because she like I do not particularly care for Pooja Bhatt, although I will say she was amazing in Daddy, which is
Mm.
her debut film that of course Mahesh Bhatt made, and she was really good in that. And other than that, I have never been particularly impressed by Pooja Bhatt because A, she's really not a strong performer.
Mm.
B, her lisp is very distracting. And C, she has terrible chemistry with most people. So, for example, she's done that one movie with Shah Rukh Chahat, and they look like siblings.
Oh
They have zero
yeah.
chemistry with each other. So, and then she also did movies at a time when there was a lot of like action stuff happening, and so she was
Mm.
paired up with people like Sanjay Dutt and Sadak, and it just doesn't work. Like she's almost like early Sonam Kapoor, so she should have been in more frothy stuff than she was.
Mm.
But then when she's in frothy stuff, she goes too far and is annoying. Like she's in a movie called Prem Divane,
Okay.
that has her paired with Vivek Mushran, and the older couple is Jackie Shroff and Madhuri. And every time the older couple is on screen, which is Jack and Madhuri, they're stunning and they have the best chemistry and they're gorgeous and amazing. And every time Pooja and Vivek Mushran come on screen, is like, oh, let me fast forward these scenes. But she's actually really good in Dil Hai Ki Mata Nahi, because she does that whole like thing really well, and she
Hmm.
plays spoiled brat to perfection.
Okay.
And Amir Khan is like, I'm not an Amir Khan fan, but he's actually really good as Raghu Jaitley, as the journalist. He's so sarcastic.
Okay.
I find snarky Amir very funny.
Nice.
Like when he's being kind of mean and he's
Nice.
like jabbing at you,
Ha ha
and
ha.
like some of his jabs at her. It's actually a very entertaining film to watch, and the songs are really good. And the title song, Dil Hai Ki Manta Nahi, oh, the way it's picturized is one of my favorites. She's
Mm.
wearing this like white outfit off shoulder with like roses on it, and she has her famous curly hair,
Yeah.
and it's shot at night, and it's like kind of like in a farm area, and she's in the middle of this like a haystack, literally a
Mm.
haystack, and she's playing with some like hay, what is it called, like what is a strand of hay called, whatever it's
I
called.
don't know. I guess I would call it a piece of hay, but yeah,
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a term.
she's playing with this like piece of hay and looking off in the distance, and it's so enchanting. So
Oh,
I would say if you're looking for like a feel good romantic movie, it's a good one to watch. And Amir and Pooja are actually really good in this film. Her dad is played by Anupam Kher, and he's kind of like funny and annoying, but he's got a very small role.
okay.
And the guy that she's in love with, who's supposedly an actor in that film, and she runs away from home because she wants to marry that actor, and her dad basically tells her, you shouldn't marry the actor because he just wants to marry you because you're an heiress, but like he's a terrible person. And she's like, no, and she runs away from home,
Sure.
and that's where she meets Amir Khan. The actor that she's supposedly in love with is the most dull person ever. And I'm like, this dude is the one you ran away from home for? Like, are you crazy, girl? Like, that's not even believable. But yeah, that's a fun movie to watch.
Nice.
What was your favorite thing about Suhana Safar? Was it just hashtag Shasha
Probably
and
the
their
Shasha.
chemistry?
Yeah, and I do really love that holy song. I think it's creative and really, really well done. Um, this is one of those films where the Shami Kapoor hangover is evident,
Mm,
right? So they're giving Shashi some things to do that his brother certainly did. Um, and your mileage may vary in terms of whether you think he does them as well. There's a bit of dishum dishum, and like
okay.
that is not Shashi's forte. He's like meh at it, I would say, for the era, right? Like we're not talking
Right.
about gun-toting, whatever that we have now, but like, he's not the absolute worst at it, but he's not the best at it either. Um, but there's a whole song where there's a scene and then a song where he tricks some guys who are trying to kidnap Sharmila into not only leaving, he implies that he has information about her whereabouts and what they should do. He not only gets rid of them, he somehow manages to convince them that they need to take off all their clothes before they go so that they run off in their undies.
Okay.
and he's basically gotten rid of them. And then he has this whole song about like the illness of greed, and he's,
Okay.
sleeping around and, that kind of thing. This movie does have the feeling of it was filmed quite a few years before it was released in
Mm.
some ways, but also like you could tell me this was from 1965 and I would believe you. It's not. It's from 1970, but and someone who's an expert on Indian fashion history would be able to date it better than
Because those photos, like those Sharmila outfits, are very
they look a
60s.
little
They are
earlier, right?
not 1970. They're very
Yeah.
60s pastels and
Yeah.
mints and pinks and
Yeah.
the sort of stuff Babita wore as
Yeah.
well. Whereas by the 1970, you had like
Yeah.
70s, you'd move to more neutral, earthy tones and bell bottoms and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
her costuming is so it probably was one of those films
And
that took long
again,
to make.
it's not like, oh, from on December 31st of 1969, everyone's like, no more pastels, it's time for bell bottoms, right? Like these things are
Right.
continuums and we group them by decade because that's convenient. But
Right.
but it does look a little earlier to me than
Mm.
it really is. But and it doesn't have what I think of trademarks of 70s masala,
Mm.
certainly. Although it's not that kind
Yeah.
of film either. It's not like
Right.
it's not an action-oriented film at all. There are a couple of small fight scenes, but nothing super major. So it's mostly just cute.
Yeah. Which Lord knows we need things that are just cute.
Yeah, I was a little distracted while watching it because I have seen it at least twice before. So, but I think if I
Okay.
hadn't, I would have been pretty absorbed by how pleasant it
Yeah.
was. And again, not an earth-shattering movie that everyone must run out
Right.
and watch. But if you want to see another take on it on Chori Chori or,
Hmm.
you know, um, just want a cute sort of late 60s romance, you could do way worse than this film. It is
Right.
very pleasant.
Okay. So, what were some other travel films that you were thinking about, either like discussing for this podcast or just in general travel films
Yeah.
that you like?
Well, there were two that came to mind that I also wanted to save them for a later discussion, but I'll go ahead and mention them. So one was Honeymoon Travels, which I do plan to watch for our episode on the color pink, which will be
Mm.
coming soon in our rainbow. I also thought about Bunty or Bubbly because obviously they're running around a lot in that, and that's not vacation either, right?
Like
That's
escaping
escape slash trying to
on
stay
the run.
ahead. Yeah, kind of on the run. Um, those were the two that came to mind for me most instantly. I was thinking about um, Darjeeling Limited because you had just talked about that, which obviously has travel in it for a very different reason. You had mentioned what Chennai Express at one point because of the
Yeah.
long trip that they take, that he's taking to for his grandmother's ashes.
Yeah.
Um, it was kind of interesting to think about reasons people travel that aren't vacation. Um,
Hmm.
so that was kind of fun to ponder. And I bet the list of films that would fall into that category is actually quite long, but somehow
Massive.
somehow this one came to mind fast for me, so I just
Yeah.
went with it.
I really wanted to watch Kshana Kshanam, which I have never seen, because Vikas told me I have to watch
Mm,
it. And it's a Sridevi film, and like it's not like I need an excuse to watch a Sridevi
right,
movie. Also, it's made by Ram Gopal Verma, who before he turned crazy
right.
and became loco, he actually made excellent movies,
Yes, he
and he's
did.
made Satya and Rangila, which are two of my absolute favorites. Also, I discovered that Kshana Kshanam is the Telugu, it's the original of Daud, which I love
Which
Daud.
we like. Yes.
I'm an unabashed fan of Daud. So I was like,
Yeah.
wait, so there's like, I have like a Telugu option that has like Sridevi in it. Cool, awesome,
Yeah,
I'll
what's
watch
not to
it.
love?
So I thought about that, but then like Daud, Kshanam Kshanam is also like, it's basically people on the run.
Yep.
So again, it didn't fit the travel for travel's sake
Yeah.
idea, although even in Karwaan they're traveling because they have a mission to accomplish, right? Like it's these bodies have to be like, brought to their final destination, so to speak. So then I decided that I would just keep Kshanam for when we do our Sri Devi happy birthday episode. So that was one I thought about. Chennai Express I thought about just because I really love Deepika and Shahrukh together in that movie, and I like the songs a lot, especially 1 2 3 4, which is like amazing. So I had like a few thoughts on what I wanted to do episode wise, but then Irfan won like he
Sure.
usually does.
While I was looking for Suhana Safar on various places, one of the suggestions that came up, like, did you mean was a
Mm.
film called Safari from 1999 with Juhi Chawla and Sanjay Dutt. And I was
Is
like,
that a Rakesh Roshan movie?
what is this? It is Jotin Goel.
I don't know this movie.
And this is about Sanjay Dutt is a well, I'll just read it to you. He's the son of a former ship captain and is called captain in his honor and lives a life full of adventure on a small island named Manjira. Juhi wants
Okay.
to build a factory on the island and meets him in this regard. This begins their journey full of adventure. And I was like, that doesn't sound maybe quite as much like travel as it does about we went to a place, or one of us went to a place where the other already is, and then we have adventures that are
Right.
a place that's remote. So, but also the poster did not give me confidence. And I know you
I
should judge by that. But also, I've never heard anyone mention this film that I can remember. So I think there's a reason for that, probably.
It was probably like a big stinker. But okay, so the movie I think I was confusing it in my brain was I think I was thinking of Karobar, which is a
Mhm.
Rakesh Roshan movie starring Juhi Chawla, and I have never watched that either. Which of course
Mm.
I should have known. Rakesh Roshan always starts his movies with a K because he's
Right,
superstitious. So
of
he would
course.
never make a movie called Safari. It would be called K Safari. So when I think of like true travel movies where they're traveling for holiday and leisure purposes, it's
Yeah,
like, when you come back to America or when you travel elsewhere, the customs person says, "Why are you here? Is
right.
it business or pleasure?" And you're like, "Sightseeing."
Yeah.
So in terms of that, I always think of like Dil Chahta Hai. I
Hmm.
think of Zindagi Milegi Na Dobara. I think
Hmm.
of Dil Dhadakne Do.
Hmm.
So it's basically the two Akhtar
Akhtar's.
siblings.
You
They're
have
all
to
about, let's go
be
on holiday.
very rich and cultured to go on holiday, apparently.
Yeah.
And there's so many where I think of, oh, they're in Switzerland, but I'm like, no, that's a song teleport. They're not actually
Yes.
there. And obviously, there are a
Right.
lot of movies where people are in Switzerland for business or whatever, or like that, the movie I watched for Ashwarya, where her intended is there for business. She
Mm.
goes there to stalk him. That's not
Right.
really vacation. I
Right. Like Chandani, I think all of the songs that are shot about, it's all her imagination, right?
think so. I'm
Yeah,
the wrong
like they
person to
like
ask.
I don't think they ever actually go to Switzerland. I mean, Rishi Kapoor
Right.
does eventually go to Switzerland after his accident for like his rehab or surgery or whatever he did there, like his treatment. But songs like Tere Mere Hoto Pe and everything, that's all her imagination.
And DDLJ would
So
be an obvious candidate, but I don't want to talk about
yes.
DDLJ anymore. So,
But DDLJ would be, yeah. So I feel like that's also interesting too, right? Because like all of these movies are from the time when the middle class and the upper middle class in India had really started making money and had started
yeah.
to actually travel.
Yep.
Because in the 60s and 70s, when they would show travel in the movies, it was always like Love in Simla or, in Jungly, where Shami Kapoor goes to Kashmir, or in some other Shami
Although,
Kapoor
as
movie
you
where he
mentioned,
travels
there is
elsewhere.
Love in Tokyo,
Tokyo.
and I can't remember the plot of that well enough to remember if one of them is
Oh,
there for
girl.
work.
I read the Wikipedia entry, and whoever wrote it does not believe in punctuation. So it's just one
Oh, I love
extremely
it.
long,
I love it.
unending paragraph with the minutia of the plot in it. So
Love
I
it.
tried reading it because I considered Love in
Oh,
Tokyo.
it is really long. Holy
Yes,
moly.
that it's a masterclass in how not to write a Wikipedia entry.
Ooh.
You need patience to read that. This person does not believe in punctuation, reading comprehension, any of those things. So I just couldn't be bothered to read that entry.
Joy Mukherjee's mother makes him go to Tokyo in search of his deceased elder brothers and his deceased his wife his nephew. I don't know. There's so many words in here. It's
I
very,
know.
yeah. Okay, so that's not vacation either, but that is a
No.
task.
I did want to think about, like, I did think about vacations where I love movies where bad things happen to the people because I'm just a bad person. And so I wanted to think of a movie where like they're going on vacation, they're like, "Yay, we're going on vacation." And then terrible things start happening and they're
Sure.
like, "Oh no."
Well,
So I actually thought of Gumrah. So
okay.
that's the Devi movie. It's I think
Have I
it's the
seen
movie
this?
on which Jigra was copied from. Like Jigra was a
Oh yes,
remake
I
of
have
that, I
seen
think,
Gumrah. Yep, 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 yep,
where
yep, yep, yep.
Devi goes to Hong
Mm-hmm.
Kong and
Mm-hmm.
she gets jailed for like cocaine possession or something. And then
Mm-hmm.
but then again, it's like you're it's like a jailbreak movie and they're trying to run away from
Yeah,
the authorities or whatever. So like
right.
the actual travel films are all from that 90s onwards era where Indian people finally had the disposable income to be able to travel abroad, and that's where they started. You know, another person who does a lot of travel movies is Imtiaz Ali. His characters are
Sure.
always traveling to find themselves. It's always like
Right.
Tamasha and all of these films. Like Jab We Met is kind of a travel movie as well.
Hmm.
um Rockstar is not, but doesn't Nargis Fakhri's character travel to India
I
from
never
abroad, I
finished
think?
Rockstar, and I have
You're not missing
actively
much.
blocked out everything but the music. So,
Jab Harry Met Sejal is also traveled. They're
oh,
traveling
of
all over
course.
Europe to
Yeah.
find her ring. It's such a nonsense movie. They're like, when I think of travel, I think of the Akhtar siblings and I think of Imtiaz Ali. And they all seem to believe that when you travel, you discover things about yourself, which I have to say, I'm a fairly well traveled person, and none of my travels have taught me much about myself, but maybe I'm just not
There's, of
a
course,
character in a film.
Highway.
Yes.
There's
Now
Queen, which
that's an
we've
example
already
of bad things
discussed. Yes,
happening.
it is. Yes, it is. There
I
are a
would
couple lists out there of Bollywood's best travel movies, and
I would love to see like a horror movie where, can you imagine, like they go to like a
oh,
really nice hill
Finding
station.
Finding Fanny. That's a road trip movie.
I considered that because it's made by Homie Johnny and I
Hmm.
like his work. I mean, I love Being Cyrus, but it
Hmm.
has a horrible rating. And I was like, I don't know if I want to sit through this.
I
Also,
saw
has
it on
Dimple
a
Kapadia in it.
I saw it on a plane, and I don't remember it very well, but
Okay.
I don't think I disliked it. I don't remember. Yeah. Oh, London, Paris, New York. I saw that in the theater because it
I
was
haven't seen
playing
that
while I was
movie.
in India one time. I think Amrita and I went to see it. I don't remember a
Okay.
thing about it.
Okay.
Um, yeah, a Bombay to Goa, of course, which we none of
Hmm.
us tried. Yeah, it's not a massive list. When you take out song teleporting, someone is there for work or, the military or spying. Obviously, that's also work. Um,
Or
or
like
they're
their
there for
grandparents' ashes.
or they're there for school, then that actually really does knock down the number of films quite a bit.
Yeah, you end up with movies where people are going either on their summer vacations or they're doing road trips or they're honeymooning,
Mhm.
which that's not a very huge category. There is that movie that a lot of boys liked, which I thought was such a letdown, Madgaon Express. What? Were you giggling?
There's a, I would like a word for this, but we speak as women. That's a movie that boys like. It does mean a very specific thing to me. And I don't know
Right?
if it's exactly the same thing that we would say, but like the novel On the Road, I'm like,
Right.
that's a book for dudes. And I'm not saying men, I'm saying dudes.
Dudes,
And
yeah.
anyone who is beyond about 25 and thinks super highly of most of this stuff, I probably don't need to talk about artistic ventures with very much.
Yeah.
It is sus.
I know. I mean, Madgaon Express, everyone was going on and on and on about it. And I do like Kunal Khemu very much. And I
Sure.
adore Avinash Tiwari, as I have said multiple times. So I was like, I will watch this movie because Avinash Tiwari and Kunal Khemu. And it was such a letdown. And I was like, this movie is not even remotely funny. There was that one scene where Pratik Gandhi is covered in cocaine. I thought that was hysterical. But I was just like, the gags were just like long and blah. And I was like, instead of this sasta cheap hangover version, I would rather watch the original Hangover, which I've seen like 1 million times because, like, hello, I love Zach Galifianakis. I don't know if I said his name right. But so I was like, no, I'll just watch Hangover. I don't need to watch Madgaon Express. It was okay. You know who actually does travel stories really well is the White Lotus franchise,
Oh, sure. Yeah, you've talked
which is,
about
of
how much you
course,
enjoy that.
TV.
Yeah.
Yeah. So season one was set in Hawaii and amazing. Season two was set in Sicily, also amazing. And season three was set in Thailand, also great. Season two is my favorite though. And there's always, so the White Lotus, they have they have a tie-up with the Four Seasons. So the White Lotus seasons can only be shot at actual Four Seasons properties, which limits them to what destinations they can pick because they have to shoot while
Oh
the hotel
no,
has
so
people in it.
sad. Right.
Right. But so they are kind of limited by that because the Four Seasons is not going to stop operations just because you're
Right.
filming there. Right. So it has to be like big enough and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, but so it's always really rich people,
Yeah.
and it's always kind of like that upstairs downstairs or like Downton Abbey stuff where it's like
Yeah.
the really rich entitled people who stay at the White Lotus, and then the staff and all of the shenanigans that happen, and some of the people in it are so spoiled, but it's so good.
Yeah.
It's very much in that vein of like the Zoe Akhtar stuff. It's very Dil Dhadakne Do ish. So
Mm.
yeah. Is there any travel movie you really want to watch?
Oh, probably. I think as a genre, I would enjoy
Yeah.
most because it is fun to look at other places, right? Especially if
Yeah.
it can be a very it's more it's not literally escapism, but it's a different it's sort of an additional layer
Yeah.
of escapism, which is fun and to think about being because the thing about being on vacation, right? If it's an actual vacation, is that you are free
Yes.
in a way, which is always fun to think about.
You have no dog to walk. You have no
Yeah,
kitty cats to feed. You're
yeah.
not waking up at 7 a.m. because your cat is nibbling your ear and going, Mommy, feed me.
And if you want to spend all day, at the British Museum, because you're me, you can,
Yeah.
or whatever it may happen to be. Or if you want to just spend all day with your book at a cafe, you can.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah, I like
fun.
vicariously living through the characters in
Yeah,
travel movies. Like one movie that I love watching, even though I know it's so like predictable and cheesy or whatever, but I still enjoy it because of how pretty it is Under the Tuscan Sun.
sure.
The Diane Lane movie, it's
Yeah,
just so pretty. I mean,
yeah,
it's like for 2 hours you can transport me to Italy, and there's all these like gorgeous Italian men, and they're eating all this like heapfuls of pasta. Why not?
yeah.
So I love that. But I think my number one favorite travel movie of all time has to be Train to Busan.
Right.
That one takes like bad things happening to people to a whole new level because it's basically like a train journey to Busan in South Korea, and it's invaded by zombies. And I was like,
Right.
this is perfection. This is literally the pinnacle of cinema. I love that movie so much. Thankfully, that has never happened to me on any of my
The
journeys.
pinnacle of cinema.
It is the pinnacle of cinema. It really is. I love Train to Busan. My friend did this thing that when you said you're free and you can do whatever you want. So my friend Julie, who I'm going to go see this weekend, I'm flying to her home. So she's Korean. She's from Seoul and she lives in America. She's been in the U.S. now for I want to say like 6 or 7 years. And she was on vacation somewhere, I think in Italy. And every day she would take her library book down to the pool. And the book she was reading was Crying in H Mart. Have you read it?
Oh, no, but I know a little bit about it.
I
Yeah.
read it. It is such a tearjerker. And she would
Yeah.
read that every day and
Oh.
cry by the pool because it's like so emotional. Also, she was
Hmm.
homesick for Korea.
Yeah.
And like all the Italian ladies next to her would be like, is she okay? Like, why is that girl crying? And she would have to like take her hand down so that they couldn't see her crying. I was like, Julie, why would you read Crying in H Mart on vacation in Italy? And she was like, because I wanted to read that book. And I was like, this makes no sense, but okay. So yeah. Do you have like a really funny travel memory?
So you prepped me for this before the episode, and I haven't come up with anything really, really funny. I've had slightly wackadoodle things happen,
You can
but
tell us wackadoodle. We
I
like
mean,
wackadoodle.
um, this is so minor, and it all worked out absolutely fine. But for example, the first time I went to Vienna, I flew from, I guess, from London to Vienna. I studied German for a while in college, nowhere close to fluent, but like airport signage, etc., not a problem.
Okay.
Um, and my friend who I was staying with was supposed to pick me up at the airport, and she wasn't there.
Mm.
And this was before cell phones that you would take internationally
Mm,
anyway, as far as I remember. Like I didn't, it was before smartphones, certainly. Like
right.
I maybe had my American cell phone, but it didn't do anything in
Did you have
Europe.
like a little flip phone?
Yeah. Um, and I just stood there for a long time. I'm like, what do I
Oh,
do? Because I didn't really know where she lives. I didn't know, so I finally went to some kind of, just information desk and asked them if they could help me call her workplace. And I got a hold of I was like, sprechen Sie English? And of course, all the Austrians my age and younger do speak English beautifully. So
okay,
they were
perfect.
they were super helpful and like went and got her. And she's like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I thought it was tomorrow." So like she told me like what address to give a taxi driver, and like she and her husband ran home and like were furiously cleaning and everything. And this was a friend through the Bollywood blogs. This is, do you
Mm,
remember Babasco?
yes.
Yeah, it was her.
Okay.
So this was an amazing story of, international friendships forming through Bollywood and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, it was just there were a couple moments there of just pure panic because I'm like, I
Right.
don't know what I would do. Now, I'm an adult with a credit card. Like, it wouldn't have been that bad, obviously. Like, Vienna is
Worst case
super
scenario, find the
safe.
US embassy.
Well, yeah, and it was not at that level, right? Just like go check yourself into a hotel. You have a credit card. It
Yeah.
wasn't high season. It was kind of the winter time or like early spring. So it's, you would have found a place to stay. It's not that much of a problem, but it was just a moment of like, oh no. So yeah, I don't think I have. Oh, can I please tell a friend's funny travel story though, or
Yes.
travel
Yes.
incident? So this is a friend, this was also in Vienna, who again was a student of German. But she got some of her words mixed up, and instead of saying the word for excuse me, she went around saying the word for surprise. So she like bumped into someone on a tram or whatever, she would say surprise. Which is, and the two words don't sound that much alike. They kind of start with the similar sound, but that's it. I
Okay.
think the same letter, but like that's so can you imagine being someone there and being like, well, I am surprised, yes. Like if someone, like accidentally bumped into me in a
Oh, that's
line here and
terrible.
they said to me surprise with a foreign accent, I would take pity on them, but also being like, yes, I am surprised. And like, is there more? Is this are you punking me? Like what's going on here?
Right.
Yeah, but that's I don't have any
Oh,
good,
that's so
really good,
funny
funny
though.
stories though. But I do love that. Yep.
Nice.
Surprise!
The next time I bump into someone, I'm gonna say surprise.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think I don't know if this is funny or embarrassing or
Oh,
what, but
both probably, right?
probably, yeah. So I've been to Japan only once, and that
Mm.
was like almost 15 years ago. And I remember United Airlines had just debuted their new route, which was Chicago to Narita. It was a direct flight, 15
Oh.
hours, and they were doing like a super sale because it was like their new route. So we got really good tickets, even though it was during Hanami season. It was during cherry blossom season, so which is usually
Mm.
very expensive, but we got
Yeah.
a great deal. So we were like, awesome,
Wow.
we have to go. So we went. It was great. And Narita Airport is quite far from Tokyo proper.
Okay.
So first of all, you have like a 15-hour flight. Then you're at Narita Airport. You're waiting for your bags. Then you get your bags. Then you get into like. Then we had to wait for the airport shuttle. Like there was a free airport shuttle, and no, then we had to take a train. So we had to take a train from Narita Airport to get to Tokyo proper, and then we got out at a station in Tokyo, and then our hotel shuttle came to pick us up.
Okay.
So by the time we actually got to our hotel, I desperately needed to pee. Like I
Ah,
had been holding it, okay, for like
yeah.
25 minutes, and I needed to go. And so I shove my stuff down and I run for the restroom, and I am faced with this porcelain monstrosity that I don't understand anything. There were all these buttons and these
Hmm.
levers, and then I couldn't figure out how to figure out the light switch in the bathroom because that was something high tech. And by the way, we were not staying in some like super fancy hotel in Tokyo. Like it was like a nice
Well,
hotel, but it wasn't expensive.
yeah.
But so I look at this toilet and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I was like, you know what? I gotta go. It's fine. So I opened the lid, I sit on the loo, and I almost immediately jumped up because it was so warm. So it had like a heated seat.
I have experienced that as well, but it was right here in my very own town where a restaurant had put
Yeah.
in fancy Japanese toilets for some completely mysterious reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's such a horrible sensation.
I sat down and I was like, why is my butt on fire? This is
Right.
crazy.
Right.
But it's because you would sit and the sensor would make the thing
Yeah.
start. And then the toilet said something to me in Japanese, like a recorded mess, like da, 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 da. And I was like, I just pee. Can I just pee? And then I peed. And then I couldn't figure out how to flush it.
Of
There
course.
were so many buttons on it, and I couldn't understand anything because it all had like kanji on it, or
Yeah.
it had these like diagrams that did not look like anything I understood. So for the next 2 weeks that we were in Japan, literally the highlight of my day, but also the most troublesome part of my day would be going to the restroom because we would go to like a nice museum and then I'd be like, oh God, now I gotta go pee. We'd go to a restaurant and be like, now I gotta go pee. There, I longed for the very simple, basic toilets that we have in America. I
Right.
longed for those. But I will say, after I came back, I did have like a fond memory and
Oh, sure.
appreciation of those very high tech. I'm so glad I don't have to deal with them though,
Sure.
because there's just too much happening. Like,
Yeah.
I do not need a technologically advanced toilet.
Well, and if the power goes out, I assume it has some kind of mode you can basically use the basic function anyway, but
Yeah.
that seems like a
It probably
problem.
like barks out instructions at you.
Does your toilet need a battery backup? Like mine does not.
No, mine does not. Mine is just a very basic, simple Toto.
Same.
I loved it. Like, literally, our hotel toilet felt like it could send faxes if it needed
Right.
to.
Right.
Like, can I just like email my boss or something from the toilet?
Right.
Probably. It could probably order breakfast for you or something. I don't
Mm,
know. But
mhm.
yeah, that was yeah, the toilets in Japan were my favorite thing about Japan.
Nice.
So
Nice.
yeah. Okay, I think that concludes this travel episode. Did you have anything to add, or should we say sayonara?
I wish everyone who might be traveling anytime soon, bon voyage.
Oh yeah. Okay. Bon voyage. Have a good time. Don't wear so much hairspray in your bouffant as to accidentally set your plane on fire. That would not be a good holiday for you. And try to stay away from zombies. And if you can't stay away from zombies, then at least like film it and send me a video, because I would love to watch that. Have a great day. Have wonderful travels. And then we will see you next week on Filmi Ladies. Bye.